Dovetail is how we create vertical lines. First you'll see an animation of the process to help you visualize it, then you'll see a video of the actual process. Let's try to think about tapestry weaving as a replacement for shuttle weaving. Instead of the shuttle moving from left to right and right to left, we are moving our spools in sequence across the warp. Our shuttle throwing process is one we're already familiar with. We pass the shuttle from left to right and right to left, back and forth, over and over, building up weft, layer by layer. We can imagine replacing a shuttle by moving all of the spools simultaneously back and forth. But we can't move the spools simultaneously, so we have to move them one by one. To do that, we have to move them out of each other's way, moving the spool that isn't already at the edge to the edge first, then moving the next spool to where that spool was, and then the next spool, on down the line. The green vertical line will be our dovetail line. We identify which warp threads will be our dovetail lines and lock in the weft yarns at those lines to begin weaving. If we are right-handed, this will be the rightmost side of each of our color area. If we move the spools out of sequence, in this case, moving the yellow yarn before the green one, we will have a problem. The green yarn will be trapped, so we need to move the green yarn out of the way of the yellow yarn so that the yellow yarn follows, moving in the same direction. The green yarn has turned around on the dovetail line. Now the dovetail line hasn't yet been covered by the yellow because it's on the bottom of the shed. The yellow will wait for the shed to change before back wrapping on the dovetail line. By back wrapping, we are taking the thread behind the place where the thread is coming out of the shed, but continuing in the direction we need to be moving. Now the green moves to take the dovetail line. Because the dovetail line is on top of the shed, it is ours to take. Because we have taken the dovetail line already, we complete the turnaround by going straight into the shed. Yellow moves to meet the green. Now the yellow must back wrap to take the dovetail line. The green moves, taking the dovetail line at the top of the shed. Green leaves by going straight into the shed. Yellow moves to meet the green. Now the yellow must back wrap to take the dovetail line. Green moves, taking the dovetail line at the top of the shed. Because we have taken the dovetail line already, we complete the turnaround by going straight into the shed. Yellow moves to meet the green, and we're ready to look at some actual dovetail weaving. What we're going to do is to try to weave a dovetail. We're going to make a vertical line with a dovetail. We're going to do a rust design on a brown background. So the first thing I'm going to do is to make sure I'm on an open shed. An open shed is the shed that allows us to pull out the last weft shot because there has not been a crossing of the weft yarns. So if I cross the yarns, I can't pull that yarn out. So I always want to start on an open shed and lock in the ends on that open shed. That way when I cross the shed and I start weaving, I'm weaving on a cross shed, which is how we want to weave. That's the only way it works. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is to count in 16 top of the shed threads. So I'm going to do that by counting in from the edge, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16. And I'm going to lock these in so that the active yarn is on the right side of each of their color areas. It's on the right side, and the tail is on the left side. Now each of these yarns is at the right side of its active color area, what it's going to weave. Now I also am randomly choosing that those threads that it's going to turn around on are these threads. They're going to be our dovetail lines. And I'm going to be turning around with both colors on these lines. They're going to share that thread. So when I go and I cross the shed and I'm ready to weave on the cross shed, I'm going to pick up the yarn that is the background color, the edge color that isn't at the edge. So I'm going to pick that up. Now I have a choice of going straight into the shed or back wrapping, and that is true. And any time we're doing tapestry, we always have that choice of going straight into the shed or back wrapping. So what I mean by straight into the shed is that the yarn comes out between two warp threads. And if I turn around by going straight into the shed, it will turn around on that bottom of the shed thread. The other choice is to back wrap, which would mean that it would turn around on this thread. We will actually do a back wrap on our next pick. So I'm going to go straight into the shed so that it turns around on that bottom of the shed thread, which is what we determined was going to be our dovetail line. I'm going to do the same thing that I've done on the left side. I'm going to do on the right side. I'm going to go straight into the shed, and I'm going to bring the rest up where it's meeting the brown turnaround. Now the rust is going to be turning around on that bottom of the shed thread, but it's on the bottom of the shed. I can't turn around on it because I can't reach it. I'm going to be, the same thing is true on this side, on the right side. I'm going to bring it up to the rust, which is on that where the rust turned around is the thread that the brown wants to turn around on. I'm going to chain sheds and beat, and I'm going to, now I will have to back wrap on both of these. So back wrap again is, if you think of the shuttle moving from left to right, if I go straight into the shed, then it's going to be able to just move from left to right. But if I back wrap, it's actually taking the thread behind me before it moves from left to right. So I'm also being very careful to take the extra yarn out and pack that in with my finger. Again, I'm going to back wrap over here on the left side of my design. I'm going to back wrap to take that thread because it is behind me, but I need to wrap around that thread. Now, back to the right side of the design, I can see that the rust has turned around on that thread, the brown is turned around on that thread, and because it is on the top of the shed, the rust can take that thread back again. I've neatly packed things in on the left. Now the rest is going to come over here and take the thread that our dovetail line thread, which is the same one that the rust had just turned around on. Again, I'm going to chain sheds and beat. I'm still holding this thread, which was the edge color that's not at the edge. I'm going to go straight into the shed, take it to the selvage. The rust one is going to go straight into the shed, and it's going to come up to the brown and meet it. The brown is going to come up to the rust and meet it. Our dovetail lines are at the bottom of the shed, so they can't be messed with. But when I chain sheds, now those dovetail lines are back at the top of the shed. I'm going to back wrap, and I'm going to take those two dovetail lines. So I can take it on the left and I can take it on the right. So they're both turning around on the same thread. That's all that really matters. Now, another thing that I'll point out is that when I'm moving from right to left, I'm going straight into the shed. Going straight into the shed, and I'm meeting the other color. I can do that for all three of these things. But when I'm moving, change sheds, beat, when I'm moving left to right, I'm doing a back wrap. And what matters also is that whatever I'm doing on the one side, I'm doing on the other side. We always work symmetrically in Chimayo weaving. Chain sheds, beat. What I want to do is to have 4 rounds and then step out. So at this point, there have been 4 rust turnarounds and only 3 brown ones, but I'm about to correct that and make one last turnaround, a 4th turnaround of the rust. On this side, I have 3 rust turnarounds and there are 3 brown ones, so that hasn't completed the 4 rounds. But on the right side, I'm about to do. So I'm going to complete that. I'm going to do that back wrap and take that to the edge. Now the rust is going to back wrap on this side. On this side, rather than take a 5th and have the rust turn around a 5th time on here, I don't want to do that. I said I was going to go 4 rounds and then I'm going to move. So what I'm going to do is to step out, and I'm going to step out 3 top of the shed threads. Now I'm reestablishing a new dovetail line, and I'm going to establish it on the same side of the shed, that what is the top of the shed right now, that I had the other dovetail line. I'm just moving it out to 3 top of the shed threads out. On the left-hand side, I'm going to take the last brown turnaround, chain sheds beat. I'm going to take the brown out to the edge, and on this side, I know that my new turnaround, my new dovetail line is that bottom of the shed, so I'm going to take it straight into the shed. I'm going to step out by 3 on the left-hand side, and now my dovetail line is actually at the bottom of the shed. So to do 3, I'm identifying this as my new dovetail line. It's 3 bottom of the shed threads really, but it's the next one after my 3 top of the shed threads. That's helpful. I'm going to take the background color and I'm going to take it up to the rust, and I'm going to be turning around on that thread, which is now the top of the shed. Once I've changed my shed and beat it into place, I'm going to back wrap to take that, and I've now reestablished a new dovetail line. I'm going to back wrap like I said I would. I was going to take this thread, that's 3 top of the shed, it's the 3rd top of the shed thread. I'm going to back wrap to take it, and now I've established new dovetail lines. They are both at the top of the shed at the same time. So I'm going to just do a couple more rounds here and make sure that we see what's going on. Now I've also left a really big open space in the middle of this design that if I was going on with this design, I'd really want to do something interesting inside this shape. But just doing a little bit more. I'm going to make it to 4 rounds, and that's where we'll put. So this is 3 rounds. And it's completed 4 on the right, and I would have to make another design choice if I was going to go on with this. I would, want to either step in maybe now or start a new design element on the inside of that. I don't know what is coming next, but I've done 2 4-round steps of dovetail.